Kevin here. So today I'm going to be installing some stainless steel brake lines. So I'll show you guys how to do this. I'm using Stop Tech. The reason I use Stop Tech is because actually they build a good quality product. Like other ones, they fit well, things like that. You know, I've never had a problem with them in the past. If you need the part number, there it is. I don't know if you can see it. It's 950-62003, and these are for the front end of the car. The reason I'm replacing these is because I like the stainless steel look of them and the braidedness of them. But in reality, if you're doing any tracking of your car or anything like that, you're going to want to replace these because as your brake fluid heats up with the plastic lines that you have, what happens is they start swelling. And then when they start swelling from the heat, what happens is you get a little more sponginess, so your brakes don't react as well. Because what will happen is you'll press on them and this will swell up a bit instead of pressing and squeezing on the pads. So with these, you get less swelling and it'll squeeze on the pads better and you'll have more consistency over a track period of time when you're tracking your car. But otherwise, if you just want, switch them out for the look of it. That's what I do it for. Switch them out for the look because I don't track my car too much. I do a couple little things, but nothing major with it. Okay, so let's get to it and I'll show you guys how to do it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take the brake line off the mounting housing on the engine. Okay, so you're going to come around the back. On this one, this is actually fixed into this little bracket right here. So it's fixed into that little bracket back there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to undo the back part of it. So we just need to get a wrench in here. Okay, so we kind of loosened it off a bit. So now what we're going to do is there's a bolt right here that we're going to take off. Okay, so we're going to take the bolt off. Okay, so we just take this bolt off here. You just twist it off by hand. Okay, so you got that off, and then what you do, bring it forward a bit, and that way you can get to the bolt at the back. This is actually clipped in the bracket, which actually you can't see because of the camera moved. So this is actually clipped in the bracket, so it's the bolt on the back that you're going to loosen off using your 13 mil. Okay, so you're just going to keep loosening off the bolt in the back until you get this disassembled, and then you're going to remove this part, and I'll show you what we're going to do next. I'm just going to move the camera out of my way so I can do this. Okay, so we got these two pieces off. Basically what I ended up doing is I ended up taking the clip off, and then this slid over top of the fixed side, and that way it made it easier. I get the two wrenches on, undid them, and then they just came off like this. So now they're separated. I have a little, just so you know, I have a little tray underneath, just catching all the brake fluid that's coming out. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to take the caliper side off. You're going to take this off with a 13 millimeter. Okay, so I already broke it because two hands to break it, and then basically all you're going to do is you're going to stick the wrench on it. You're just going to take it off, and it's going to drip out, and then I just have my pan underneath that I'm going to catch it with, and then I'm just going to take this bolt all the way out. Okay, so I'm going to use two hands to do this, get this done, and then I'll show you guys the next step. Okay, so now we're going to put on the Stop Tech line. We got the other one off, the original one. Make sure that the washer doesn't stick to the caliper side. So when you remove the original brake line, you should have a washer, a brake line, a washer, and a bolt. On the original one, that's what you should take off. So we got the factory brake lines off. Now we got the Stop Tech on the caliper is the first side you're going to put it on. And then what you're going to need is you're going to need a 13 millimeter wrench. And you're going to want to make sure that the brake line is straight up and down and that you have it bent the way that I showed you. So it's actually kind of bending out. So it's kind of bending away from the caliper. toward the car because it has a slight bend in it. Okay, so you're just going to tighten it up using your 13mm wrench. And you're going to need 2 hands for this because you're going to have to hold this brake line up in position, so like that, so straight up on the caliper. You're going to hold it up like this. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up now, and then I'll show you how we're going to hook it back up on the other side. Okay, so you're going to thread this back on now to the fitting. You're going to use your wrenches. And it's going to take a bit, but you'll get it. And then what you're going to do is you're going to put this back on. So there's a little clip here, goes in the little hole, and then you're going to take your bolt and you're going to put it in. Then you're going to take your 10mm wrench and you're going to tighten it up. Going to push the brake line in, grab the clip, get it on with 2 hands, and then I'm just going to tap it down with a wrench. And now the clip's back on, brake line's back in and it's solid. I ended up having to unhook my brake line from my caliper, so I'm going to reinstall that now. And then after that, we bleed the brakes and we're all done. Okay, so here's what the new brake lines look like installed. So these are the braided brake lines, Stop Tech ones. So basically that's it. Pretty straightforward. The install was a little more challenging than I would have thought, just because I had problems with one of the threads in there. But besides that, everything went pretty good. Okay, hope this helps you out. Take care. Okay, so here's everything I ended up using to do the Stop Tech brake lines. So I ended up needing a 11/16 wrench, a 10mm, a 13mm, a 16mm, need a 1/4" drive ratchet with a 10mm deep, a 10mm shallow socket, and a 12mm. Ended up needing a flathead screwdriver, and what I ended up having to do is on one of the brake lines on the car, it wouldn't thread in. It wouldn't thread into the Stop Tech ones, the metal ones, because I guess it was a little bit bigger, so because these are brass, it kind of cut through these to fit in nicely. But so I ended up having to chase the thread. And so if you need it, it is a 1/8 MPT 27. So I ended up just chasing the threads down a bit, and that just helped me get it on. So that's everything I ended up using to do the brake lines.